Shalom, how y'all doing? What's happening? What's going on? Hello, hi, hey, all that. Um, this is Girded King channel, YouTube channel. Coming at you again. This is my second video. On my first video, I started out with God's enemies, and I said that my second video would be the actual second nation on the list, but um, someone brought something to my attention that I really should go ahead and do a video about who the true Israelites are first. Then I'll continue my videos about God's enemies as stated in Psalms 83. I read out of the KJV Bible and Apocrypha. The 1611 KJV Bible has the Apocrypha in it. And I also read take scripts out of the book of Jasher, or any other scripts that aren't in the most recent versions of the Bible, so that I can get a better understanding from all these translations or whatnot. That's for me personally. A lot of people who are into or came into the knowledge usually use older scripts so that we can get a better understanding, so that they can get a better understanding, rather. I have only been doing this for some months, so I have gone my whole life believing things that are either total lies or fabrications, or they are just misconstrued bits and pieces of information about who we are as a people, myself being an African American, so-called African American, and whatnot. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into this about the true Israelites. I'm probably gonna make this more than one video, a part one, part two, because I have a lot of slides here, a lot of visuals and whatnot. And I have a little clip I'm going to show too a little later, video clip that I picked up. So let's move on. Y'all's people. I took this excerpt from Deutoronomy, where God is telling, describing how He wants the Israelites to be, since He took them out of the land of Egypt. He said that they are a holy people, and if you look up the word holy, holy is derived from a Hebrew word that means separate. So a separate people. And as it says here, he says he's telling them that the Israelites shouldn't make any marriages with any other nations, because they are a separate people, because other nations will drive them away from him and make them worship false gods and idols. But he also states here, as I highlighted, well, not highlighted, but made the bold text, that the Israelites are a special people unto himself, who are above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Okay, so let's find out who these people are. We're going to go through some other resources besides the KJV as well, so just bear with me here. So in Deuteronomy, later on in Deuteronomy, after he says this, he gives the Israelites ultimatums. You can either follow my commandments, and if you do, you'll get blessed. You'll have these blessings. And he lists the blessings here in Deuteronomy 28, 2 through 15, 2 through 14. All these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Blessed shalt thou be in the city, blessed shalt thou be in the field, blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Blessed shall thy basket and thy store. Blessed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and blessed shalt thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face. They shall come out against thee one way, and flee before thee 7 ways. The Lord shall command the blessing upon thee in thy storehouses, and in all that thou settest thine hand unto, and he shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. He shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. I repeated that for a reason, because later on I'm going to describe how Yah is going to be giving the land to the Israelites. So let's keep moving. The Lord shall establish thee an holy people unto himself, as he hath sworn unto thee, like I read a little earlier. If thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God and walk in his ways. So all he's asking them to do is just keep his commandments, and he will bless them. And all the people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of the Lord, and they shall be afraid of thee. I made that in bold because later on I'm going to show you that there are people who actually have Yah in their names, and that that was the case. And the Lord shall make thee plenteous in goods, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy ground, in the land which the Lord sware unto thy fathers to give thee. The Lord shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven, to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thine hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. And the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath, if that thou hearken unto the commandments of the Lord thy God, which I command thee this day to observe and do them. And thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, or go after other gods to serve them. Okay, so right here you would say, well, it says that they would be the lender and not the borrower. Aren't the Jewish people of today who live in the land of Israel, don't they own banks? They lend. Yeah, they've been lending to people since before the slave trade. But we'll get into that. But there is a reason that this does not apply to them, and that is because in the Bible, after this, God is always talking about how he cursed his people. He never did do the blessings for them because they were hard-headed, they did not follow the commandments, and they followed the ways of the heathen or other nations. So here are the curses, the other ultimatum. But it shall come to pass if thou wilt not. Oh, and I only got so many curses, that because the curse list is more plentiful than than the blessings list. So if you basically piss God off, he was going to do way more cursing than blessing. At least that's what's written. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, cursed shalt thou be in the field, cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. And as I read these curses, let me stop. As I read these curses, just think of people who these curses actually fit. Now, some of these people that may be watching this video may already know. So, just fast forward if you want past this, but I'm going to keep going for those who don't know. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke in all of thou settest thine hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he have consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. And if you don't know what pestilence is, it's pretty much diseases and diseases. The Lord shall smite thee with a consumption, with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword, and with blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. Okay. And shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. Just remember that. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. And when it says blindness, me personally, I don't think it meant that every one of them would be blind in the eye. It meant that they would be blind in the mind. They wouldn't know who they are anymore. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. So it says, grope at the noonday like the blind gropeth in darkness. That means reaching for things, trying to reach for dreams and aspirations that for some reason just won't happen for you. All right, so let's keep moving. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. It says that your kids will be given to another people, and you'll fail with longing for them all the days. And you won't have no way to defend that. There will be no might in thine hand. Think about that. Who does that sound like? Let's keep going. 36. The Lord shall bring thee and thy king which thou shalt set over thee unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. Wood is Christianity, and stone is the tablets, the big rock, I guess Mecca, that they encircle and just walk around all day. It's the wood and stone. Serve other gods, wood and stone. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations whither the Lord shall lead thee. A byword. Nigger. A byword. Think about it. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. Many of our kids, young people, end up in captivity. The prison population from us is astonishing. It's more than anywhere else in the world in America. But we got other tribes as well that are also in captivity. They're still selling slaves that are from Niger and other places in West Africa. They're selling them in Libya right now. But let's keep going. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. So that means until judgment day. So who are these people in Israel? But let's keep going. Let's keep going, because we're gonna get to that. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he have destroyed thee. Now, every time it says destroyed, it doesn't mean destroyed as in made your people just disappear from the face of the earth. It means destroyed as in who you were, your heritage, who you are. They destroyed your whole essence and turned you into something else. And they did put yokes of iron around our people's necks. And it says, therefore, you will serve your enemies. In hunger, anytime we need to eat, we don't pretty much own the majority of the farmlands. I don't think that's in any nation. Not our people. We don't. Thirst. When I was growing up, you could simply just get some water from just about anywhere, but there wasn't any bottled water. But you have to get water from these people. Think about that. Something that's free on the earth. Let's keep moving. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. If we spoke a certain language, more than likely Hebrew or some type of Hebrew dialect from all the 12 tribes, then we didn't understand people from the north, the heathens. We didn't understand their language. So we spoke Hebrew. If we always traded with the Africans, we understood their languages, probably understood Arabic, but these people that God sent against our people, we didn't understand their language. And their symbol is always the eagle. It says as swift as the eagle flieth, but the eagle isn't the fastest bird. It's a bird of prey, though. And that's why those nations always use the eagle as their symbol. Eagle isn't the fastest bird out there. It's a bunch of birds faster than the eagle. All right, 50. A nation of fierce countenance. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. They would kill you if you were a baby, a little boy, girl, or an old man or woman. Show no regard to the person of the old, or show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed, which also not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Sound like a lot of dads today that just leave the house, and they're evil towards their brother, kill each other in the neighborhoods. And you shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Lord thy God. And it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught. And ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth and even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Idolatry. All right. But right here it said that you will be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. Sound like redlining. People used to want to move anywhere. Sound like Tulsa, Oklahoma. They bombed it. Let's keep moving. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shalt the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Now I bolded the Egypt again with ships because Moses and the Hebrews actually went across the Red Sea because it was easier to get across when God parted the waters, when he parted Moses and God parted the waters, because they were being pursued. But you don't have to do that. You can walk right from Egypt into Israel. Israel is actually a part of Africa, even though they name Northeast Africa the Middle East, but it's in the middle of what? It doesn't make sense. There's no Middle West. That's part of the deception. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt. Egypt is a Greek word for bondage. It says that, I think it's in Exodus, where God said, I am the Lord thy God, brought thee out of the land of Egypt into the house of bondage. Out of the house of bondage. No need to take ships. The Israelites walked everywhere. Matter of fact, they walked in the wilderness for 40 years. They walked even longer when they had to fight with God. God was fighting with them against their enemies. So they didn't take any ships. So what is this talking about? This is a future prophecy. It's the curse. Here, this is a map of where everyone came from. This was Israel right here, or the land of Canaan at one point. before it became Israel, the land of Canaan. Most of Judah, which was the southern tribe, fled into Africa here, going this way. There's some fled towards Ethiopia, because we always dealt with Africans. We dealt with Egyptians, Ethiopians, some of our bloodline, some of the Hebrews married Ethiopians. They married other African nation women, even though they were not supposed to. So I have a link here. As soon as my mouse comes back, there it is. What I want to do is I want to open this up. And I just want to prove that God did curse the Israelites. Because in the curses I just read, he said he was going to scatter them to all the nations, correct? So here we go. The one that I just read here, moreover, the Lord will scatter you among all peoples from one end of the earth to the other. In Leviticus, it says, you, however, I will scatter among the nations and will draw out a sword after you as your land becomes desolate and your cities become waste. Deuteronomy, before Deuteronomy 28, he said, the Lord will scatter you among the peoples and you will be left few in number among the nations where the Lord drives you. I guess that was Moses talking there. Psalms 106:27, and that he would cast their seed among the nations and scatter them in the lands. Jeremiah 9:16, I will scatter them among the nations whom neither they nor their fathers have known, and I will send the sword after them until I have annihilated them. Ezekiel 12:15, so they will know that I am the Lord when I scatter them among the nations and spread them among the countries. Ezekiel 20:23, also I swore to them in the wilderness that I would scatter them among the nations and disperse them among the lands. As you can see, a lot of different books of the Bible actually say that God cursed the Israelites, right? Zechariah, but I scattered them with a storm wind among all nations whom they have not known. Thus the land is desolated behind them, so that no one went back and forth, for they made the pleasant land desolate. So when we left, the Romans took over, and eventually Yah made the land desolate. The city of David is still desolate. They'll tell you that it's one place, but really it's still there. It's still desolated. It's still deserted. Ezekiel, therefore say, thus says the Lord God, though I had removed them from far away among the nations, and though I had scattered them among the countries, yet I was a sanctuary for them a little while in the countries where they had gone. For I am with you, declares the Lord, to save you, for I will destroy completely all the nations where I have scattered you. Only I will not destroy you completely, but I will chasten you justly, and will by no means leave you unpunished. So that right there is telling you that this is a prophecy. Jeremiah is a prophet. This is a prophecy saying that he's going to destroy the nations that we were scattered into. Now, the people who are calling themselves Jews right now, they've never been scattered anywhere. They are. You can find them in some countries, yeah, but they're not in all. We're in all, pretty much. Let's keep moving. So here's West Africa, where people moved into. Okay. So this right here at the bottom, it doesn't say it because this is a 1700s map. This is a map from the 1700s. This is what they call Negro land. West Africa was called Negro land, or Guinea. Right now, Guinea is, if I can get my cursor back, there it is. Guinea is over here somewhere, right now, the country of Guinea. But they used to call it Negro land. And this is Ghana, right? Ghana, and I think Benin is over here, Nigeria. But Ghana is right here. And it says Slave Coast, right? Ghana actually means, I just found this out last week, Ghana actually translated means girded king. That's why I actually named the channel the Girded King, because of symbolization. Jesus is going to be wearing a golden girdle when he comes back, right? Okay, so let's move to the next clip. It's a close-up picture of Ghana, right? Kingdom of Judah, right? Kingdom of Judah. That's Ghana. That says Kingdom of Judah or Huida, which really, there was no J. They were saying Yehuda. They were saying Yehuda. That's what the tribe of Judah really was called, Yehuda. Tribe of Yehuda. Right? But this is a European map maker that wrote this. So, and it shows you different kingdoms here, but here, the girded king, this is where Judah established themselves, from what I understand, right? Judah was one of the 12 tribes of Israel. Let's debunk the notion that we are Africans. No, God made a difference between the African and the Negro. This is from the Zondervan Bible Dictionary. It's a definition for Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of the 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. The land of Canaan actually became Israel, right? Because the Canaanites, God told the Israelites to fight the Canaanites, fight them off that land, and that became Israel. Canaan was a son of Ham. Egypt was not a son of Ham. It is wrong. Mitzrayim was a son of Ham. That's what Egypt actually was called, right? But remember, Egypt is a Greek word, at least that's from my understanding, a Greek word that means bondage, right? So, who are the Negroes? Now, I didn't make all these memes when I go down the list, so I didn't make any of these memes. I just kind of do a little digging and find the ones that fit. This is an excerpt I took from the book of Jasher, just to prove that they pushed the Canaanites, the Israelites pushed the Canaanites out. God told them to do that. Right here, chapter 91, verse 4, I highlighted, and the children of Judah went up and fought against the Canaanites. So the Lord delivered the Canaanites into the hands of the children of Judah, and they smote them in Bezek, 10,000 men. So the Israelites killed 10,000 Canaanites. And eventually the land became susceptible to the Israelites, to all 12 tribes. So here are the 12 tribes. This is the land of Canaan. This is the land of Canaan. Getting ahead of myself. This is the land of Canaan. Judah was the southern tribe. All right. Eventually, the tribe split in half, and most of the tribes went up north. But Benjamin, Judah, became the southern tribe, and I believe Levi was actually a part of the southern tribe at the time. as well. So here, this is a depiction or a painting from Russia that was found. There were a bunch of paintings in Russia. It seems that wherever there were not slaves in the 1500s, they actually told the truth, and the people knew the truth, and they would actually depict it this way. Nothing was whited out. It wasn't the Renaissance. Renaissance meaning they just pretty much whited everything out and started over. But anyway, let's read this. Moses, they couldn't whitewash found in catacombs in Russia, okay? In Exodus, I'm just going to read this part where you kind of know Moses is a black man. In Exodus chapter 4, where he was talking to the Pharaoh and showing the Pharaoh different things, God was telling him to do different things. The Lord furthermore said to him, now put your hand into your bosom. So he put his hand into his bosom. I mean, pretty much he put his hand in his shirt. He can't just stick his hand in his chest. Probably stuck his hand in his shirt or whatever he was wearing. And then it says, and when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous like snow. I mean, his hand turned into a white hand. Like, it was white. Then he said, put your hand into your bosom again. So he put his hand into his bosom again. And when he took it out of his bosom, behold, it was restored like the rest of his flesh. So if he was a white man, why would his hand turn leprous? That wouldn't make any sense. People wouldn't even, the Pharaoh would laugh at him and be like, what are you talking about? Your hand's still the same. But he was a black man and his hand turned white. And the Pharaoh was black too. So the Egyptians were black too. So of course that looked crazy. How did you do that, Moses? So I just wanted to point that out. If Moses was already so-called white, his hand would not have changed to white, then back to white. It went from black to white, then back to black. Okay, so right here is a wall paint. It's a painting in a monastery. This monastery has a bunch of paintings all over the place. I didn't make this meme, so whoever made this meme took this from somewhere and just put this up here where it says they know the Jews are black. If you take just a quick glimpse at the top of the picture here, this is Jesus. Now, I know this is not zoomed in. You can't really see it that good, but his head looks like it's pretty much dark. It doesn't look light. It doesn't look her color, right? But if you look at the picture a little more, look around, and you see some people her color right here. Right here. Right above her left shoulder. Right? These people are in chains, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. These are the Edomites. Because the Edomites, who, if you watch my other video, you'll know who they are. When judgment comes, they're going into slavery. It says that in the Bible. I don't have the script on that, actually, on this, but I'll probably put it in the description of the video. This is a close-up picture of Jesus on that wall. And if you look around, all the saints and even God himself is a black man, as it says in Daniel 7. It says he's a man with, gives the description of a man with woolly hair as the Ancient of Days. If you look up Ancient of Days, it'll tell you that's God. God is the Ancient of Days. And you got a black Messiah. You got black saints. You have black angels. All with woolly hair and beards. Right? Here, I pointed out the Edomites. I tried to zoom in here. I don't know if you can see that. But here are the Edomites, and they're in chains. If you can see this guy here in the middle, he fell or something. At least they made it look that way. His hands are behind his back. There's a chain around his neck here. The angels are here, and here they have spears. And here's another Edomite I pointed out over here. But all the Edomites are around demons. The angels are stabbing demons. These demons are like a grayish color. At least they look like demons. They don't look like humans. Alright? So the angels are stabbing demons. This angel has his foot on a big demon. I don't know if that's supposed to represent the devil or not. And if this is supposed to represent, I think the Gabriel or Michael or one of those archangels, maybe. Not sure. But whoever did this in the 1500s, they read the Bible that I read. They read the Bible the way that I read it. Because it's a depiction of a real people. And things actually really happen. And no nation on this planet has left because God said he wasn't going to get rid of any nation until Judgment Day. So, this is another close-up picture of that wall. It shows a saint here with woolly hair, black skin, another angel, black skin, a little boy or a teenager. I don't know if this is probably some little boy, and it looks like this angel is either pulling a soul out of the boy or putting a soul into the boy. I don't know what that means, but that looks like a little soul, a little person that's white, like it's supposed to represent a soul. And this guy over here is playing the guitar. Sound like some of my people. Now, right here I put the black saints are being whited out because on the wall, this is very old, right? And I could say, well, maybe the weather did that to the color. I don't think so, because why would it just do it to the person's face, and their hands? This one right here, the whole body is whited out, but everything around it is still there. The halo is still there. It just looks like they're trying to make something else. They don't want all the black saints to be shown here, and I'm not sure who these saints represent, but I believe they are Israelites. I'm sure they are. That's that's who the next kingdom is for. Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of that which followed. Okay, so this is we know that the Israelites moved into West Africa. At least the southern tribe moved into West Africa. Judah. So there are a few websites that you can visit. This one is called slavevoyages.org, right? It's a few websites you can visit that actually give you the people's name, because they took a record of everything. They kept a record of it all. The name of the ship, the year, the name of the person, the age of the person, the height of the person, their sex, what tribe they was from. And if you take a look right here, now there's a search for the name right here to the right, to the left, and I typed in Yah. I just wanted to see, because earlier I said that God said that people would have his name, right? So I put Yah in here. And if you just take a look at this first few in the list, all of them have the name Yah in their name. Inya, Yahoo, Akeya, Hanya, right? So, and then it gives you the ages, remember it said that they wouldn't be a respecter of old or young, right? They don't care if you're old or young. So look at the youngest one on this page is 10 years old. Wow. 10 years old. The oldest one is 38. Okay. But it gives their tribe too, right? Ebo, Hebo, 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 right? Hebrew. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Hebrew may be a English dialect or English way of saying uh, the language that Yah's people spoke, right? Now, I've personally met an Igbo. They don't spell it like these English people spelled it on this page. They spell it Igbo, if I'm not mistaken, or Igboo or Igbo, Ibu. The G is silent. And he actually gave me or showed me a list that he received. He went home he was from Nigeria. He went home to Nigeria to a sort of a gathering or family reunion type deal for their tribe. And he said the elders actually gave him or gave all of them a list of their lineage. And the elders told them that they were actually from Israel and that they migrated into West Africa, into Nigeria eventually. So I'm just giving proof. That's all. I'm just giving proof. You can go to this website yourself. I didn't make this up. Slavevoyages.org. There are a couple other websites that you can actually find the names of people, where they from, where they landed at, when they, like this one says, disembarkation. That means where they got off the boat at in Freetown, and I believe that's Jamaica. So on the island somewhere. All right, these people got off on the. So we do still have Israelites that are on the islands. You got Israelites in South America, Central America, everywhere. And we'll show that map in a minute. But here's Ghana again, Nigeria, Niger. I didn't make this meme up. I didn't do this meme. I don't know who did it. I just thought it was cool to fit right here. It says where so-called Negroes originated. It shows a picture of Jerusalem. Where so-called Negroes fled to Niger, Nigeria, Ghana, right? And where so-called Negroes ended up on a boat and on an auction block. I took a picture of a yoke of iron. If you look at this old man on the left, well, I didn't take this picture. This is a meme. I mean, I took this meme looking up a yoke of iron because that's one of the curses. I've never seen a cursed Jewish person have a yoke of iron around their neck, not even in the Holocaust. They may have been in shackles, but never seen them with a yoke of iron like it says in Deuteronomy 28:48 around their neck. That's a yoke of iron to stop you from running through trees if you try to escape. That's a yoke of iron. And whoever created this meme wanted people to know that a yoke of iron removed to slaves that won't run away. So, being that they destroyed us, as it's stated in the curses, destroyed our minds, heritage, who we were, what we are, what our bloodline is. Since they destroyed us, then we're not running away. We love America. Or we love whatever nation that we were sent to. We're proud to be there. Whatever island we were sent to, whatever nation we were sent to, we would be scattered upon the four corners of the earth. This is a depiction or a picture I picked up that's showing that they knew who they were getting. See, they put Hebrews because they didn't know how to actually pronounce it. They didn't know how to spell it either. So this particular flyer was to try to get people to come to buy Israelites, Hebrews. Think about it this way. If you know that if you've heard throughout your generations that there are people that have built real civilizations, cities and towns, and even their Messiah, their Savior, was a carpenter. I mean, just think about that. Would you just go pick up some jungle bunny bush monkeys? No. Even though I'm not saying that Africans were that. They had every African had their own civilizations and they were mighty most of the time. But that's how the European mind thought back then, that everybody was a bush monkey or a jungle bunny and just wore grass skirts and chunk spears. But these are the people of the book. They went to get the people of the book to build the civilization, to build a Washington, D.C., to build the 13 colonies existed, but to build up the 13 colonies and further out, right? This is something that, when I started researching, kind of popped in my head about, God's name, Yah. So he had people that had his name, like he stated when I read that in the scripture, and they said his name a lot in different ways. Kumbaya. Where did that come from? We didn't get that from the European. So we knew who we were when we got over here. It's just they beat it out of us. And generation after generation just forgot because we were destroyed. Kumbaya, come by here, Yah. Yah's way, come by here. Oh, Yah, come by here. This is a picture of a sign. I believe this is in Virginia, if I'm not mistaken. I believe this is in Virginia. I didn't actually look it up because I've seen it before, but I believe it's in Virginia. This is showing that they knew, I think some abolitionists may have put this up, showing free blacks of Israel Hill, right? And it shows that it says that's what's circled right there. It says these Israelites and other free African Americans worked as farmers, right? So why would they tell you that these Israelites? They're not talking about the Israeli. They're not talking about the Jewish, because we're going to show you what the Jewish people were doing during the slave trade, right? We'll get to that. And I posted this because it was funny, the picture to the right. But the flyer to the left is also just showing that they were selling us Negroes. And remember, we are not Ham. We're Shem. We are from Shem, Negroes, Jacob's kids, right? Israelites. So the caption on this picture was, "Powerful shot I took on the train with a black man with a weapon in his hand." The book he's reading is called Breaking the Curse of Willie Lynch. And if you look at the white woman sitting next to him, look at her face. That is priceless. He knows who he is. For real. That's priceless. Okay, so this is I just put this here just because if in the end, the last book is telling you, okay, I'm gonna read the red part. It says, "Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues." Now, this is telling the Israelites who were cursed to come out, leave Babylon, Babylon the Great, not the first Babylon, but the second Babylon, the daughter of Babylon, mentioned in Revelation, right? It's telling the Israelites to come out of her. So if the Israeli Jewish people are the true Israelites, then what are they coming out of? Because they're over there in the land. Now they in turmoil. They had to build walls and all kind of stuff. They fight the Palestinians. They've been fighting them since they got over there. So who is he talking to right here? Come out of her. Come out of Babylon. Come out of the daughter of Babylon. It says, "For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities." I mean, God smelling these stinking sins and iniquities and things that they doing. They teaching my people to kill themselves, to kill each other. They feeding them food they're not supposed to eat. Destroying them, even though God sent them to destroy us. It says, "Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works." That means they'll get double what they did to us. Remember, I just showed you the picture of the black saints and black angels, and the angels were putting the Edomites into slavery. All right. So we'll keep moving. We'll keep moving. I just wanted to put that out there. All right. Because I'm getting to this part. The people who are not, they are not the Jews. Jew is short for Judah or Judea, Judeans, who were the tribe of Judah, the southern kingdom. Judah and Benjamin, and I believe Levi. So who are these people? Right here, this is Revelation 2 and 9 and Revelation 3 and 9. Jesus is speaking here. He says, "I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan." You know, some of them were around when Jesus was turning their tables over when he was a teenager, right? Synagogue of Satan. If you see my other video, you see where Edom did a lot, or they spread everywhere, the Edomites, right? So these fake Jews, Jesus knew that in the last days that they would be calling themselves Jews, because God's people don't even know who they are according to the Bible. So they weren't calling themselves Jews. We call ourselves African Americans, African wherever we from, African British or whatever. Negroes, Afro Americans, black. African American didn't come around until the 80s. What's his name? Jesse Jackson. I was a kid. Jesse Jackson came up with that name, African American. So we've been named everything. Revelation 3 and 9. "Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee." Right there. I will make them to come and worship before thy feet. That's part of the prophecy, where the Edomites will be enslaved by Judah, house of Joseph. That will be enslaved by them. That's another video. This is a book called The 13th Tribe. I'm going to read what it says in this 6-point star here. The author of the book is Arthur Kessler. This is, I think, in the 70s when this book came out. And there are only 12 tribes of Israel, right? So why did he name this the 13th tribe? Let's see. It says, this book traces the history of the ancient Khazar Empire, a major but almost forgotten power in Eastern Europe, which in the Dark Ages became converted to Judaism. Khazaria was finally wiped out by the forces of Genghis Khan, but evidence indicates that the Khazars themselves migrated to Poland and formed the cradle of Western Jewry. Right? So, there is no 13th tribe. The end of Revelation tells you that the new government, the new kingdom, will have 12 gates for the 12 tribes of Israel, not 13 gates. Right? Can you say Jewish? You ever wonder why they call themselves that? Why they call themselves Jewish? Before I read the passage, just look at the bottom down here. I put the definition of ish. Having a touch or trace of. Purplish. Somewhat. Darkish. Right? So they're not Jews. They're not Judah. They're not from Judea. They are what Jesus called them, the synagogue of Satan. There are nice people in the world. That doesn't mean their blood isn't from the people of the past. The Bible says there's nothing new under the sun, right? So I'm going to read this passage, right? It talks about the author and a little about the book. The people. The 13th Tribe is a 1976 book by Arthur Kessler, in which the author advances the thesis that Ashkenazi Jews are not descended from the historical Israelites of antiquity, but from Khazars, a Turkic people in Kessler's world. A Turkic people, excuse me. In Kessler's words, the story of the Khazar Empire as it slowly emerges from the past begins to look like the most cruel hoax which history has ever perpetrated. He said that himself. Woo! Sound like some of his people might be mad about that. The history of the Ashkenazi Jews was widely known and appreciated in the former Soviet Union. Ashkenazi militants traced the area where the Turkic Khazars originated before their migration to southern Russia, to Birobidzhan, an eastern Siberian area as big as Switzerland, bordered by the Amur River, by China and Mongolia. Around 1928, they started building settlements with the Soviet government's help, and in 1934, the Autonomous Republic Okrug of Birobidzhan, Yevre, came into being with official languages of Yiddish and Russian. Yiddish is what they call Hebrew today, but it's really a Russian language. It's really a Polish Russian language. It's Yiddish. It's not Hebrew. It is still there as an autonomous republic to this day, offering the only historically legitimate settlement area for Ashkenazi Jews willing to exercise their right to return, What's a right to return? Because actually God said he was going to put the Jews back in their land after the curses. Mr. Kessler was an Ashkenazi Jew and took pride in his Khazar ancestry. So he liked the fact that he was a Khazar. That's probably why he wrote the book. At the height of the controversy in 1983, the lifeless bodies of Arthur Kessler and his wife were found in their London home. Despite significant inconsistencies, the police ruled their death a suicide. There are rumors they were murdered by the powers that be that didn't want that info public. So basically, pretty much, they got killed because he wrote that book. Because it was exposing the lie. As he said up there, it was the most cruel hoax which history has ever perpetrated. This is Khazaria. You see where it says Georgia? That's Russia, right? This was the land of the Khazars, which is far north of Israel. It's past Turkey. It's far north. It's in the mountains. It's cold. The Czech Republic, up that way. So I took this excerpt right here from Wikipedia, where it's telling you about the Khazars. Khazaria developed a dual kingship governance structure, typical among Turkic nomads, consisting of a Shad and a Kagan. The emergence of this system may be deeply entwined with the conversion to Judaism. As I've researched it, you're not supposed to be able to convert to Judaism to become a Jew. I mean, it's short for Judah, so really you're supposed to be an Israelite if you're from one of the tribes. If you're a Jew, you're from Judah. If you're from Levi, you're a Levite. If you're from Benjamin, you're a Benjamite. You see? So how could they even consider themselves Jews when they're not from any of those tribes? So I wanted to read this part too because it just shows the nature of the beast sometimes. Let me see, where was it? Where it says, so this king, to become a king, they had to go through a ritual, right? And it says the greater king was recruited from the Khazar house of notables, and in an initiation ritual was nearly strangled until he declared the number of years he wished to reign, on the expiration of which he would be killed by the nobles. So, so you mean to tell me you gotta choke me until I give you a number of years I want to be the king, and then soon as those years are up, you're gonna kill me anyway? Man. Then also, look, the nastiness. Look at this. The deputy ruler would enter the presence of the reclusive greater king only with great ceremony, approaching him barefoot to prostrate himself in the dust, and then light a piece of wood as a purifying fire while waiting humbly and calmly to be summoned. Barefoot. God even had the Israelites with shoes on walking in the wilderness. Israel is a clean nation. I mean, our people don't really like to be dirty like that. Since we're on the bottom, a lot of us end up that way, the homeless people and whatnot, but I mean, pretty much everybody want to be clean. Gotta choke you to be king. All right, so this is Khazaria. They were a big nation, huge nation, uh, Polish Russian descent, right? Okay, so those are the people. I took this little meme. It says, "Did you know the Jews completely ran and dominated the African slave trade? And its headquarters was Newport, Rhode Island, which is also the site of the first synagogue in the Western Hemisphere, because business was so darn good." On a positive note, trading in this human misery was halted on Saturdays to observe the Sabbath. On Saturdays to observe the Sabbath. But they teach you in church that the Sabbath is on Sunday. Because, well, that's another video. But anyway, so the Jewish knew who the real Hebrews, Ebo, were. Now, when I say Ebos, that's not the only tribe in Africa that has Israelite descent. There are other tribes as well. I just know that I've actually spoken with Ebos. All right, on to the next slide. This is a boat, slave ship. Of course, some of us have already seen this. You see it in school when they brag about how they had us in slavery, right? Not just financing the trade, but they own ships too. So understand that the Jews have owned banks for a long time. So the whites, Europeans, Portuguese, Spanish, most of the times bought their or built their ships because they were getting money from the Jewish people. A lot of the Jewish people owned slaves, and they also owned their own boats. That probably is what paid them to keep those banks moving, right? And also, I've also heard that the banks would actually finance the slaves, like they would have an IOU. They would, slaves on the slave block. They get a letter from that bank, the Jewish bank, that says, I can spend so much money on a few slaves. And once they put the slaves to work, they start paying the money back. Just like credit. That's where credit actually was derived from, the Jewish banks. And that's another video as well. All right, so this meme is a picture of a Time magazine cover from the 1950s. The Jewish people owned that as well. They owned a lot of the publications, especially back then. Matter of fact, that's how they got America to help them fight the Germans, because of their publications and mass media, same as today. Anyway, this is the Egyptian president Gamal Nasser. In the 50s, the Israelis moved in the 40s. So in the 50s, Gamal Nasser said this. When he was asked about peace in the Middle East, the late president of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, stated, "The Jews will never be able to live here in peace because they left here black but came back white." Now, why would he say that? This is more proof that the Jews owned the slave ships, and they in particularly made the foundation of these banks off the backs of slaves, literally. The ships were not only owned by Jews, but were manned by Jewish crews and sailed under the command of Jewish captains. And That is Dr. Seymour B. Liebman, and I'm sure he's probably a Jew. And here we go. Here's another one. The Dean of Jewish Scholars, Jacob Rader Marcus, says in 1820, over 75% of all Jewish families in Charleston, Richmond, and Savannah owned slaves. Employed as domestic servants, almost 40% of all Jewish householders in the United States owned one slave or more. There were no protests against slavery as such by Jews in the South, but very few Jews anywhere in the United States protested against chattel slavery on moral grounds. Synagogue of Satan. Henry Ford wrote a book about the Jews. I don't remember the title of the book, but I got a couple of memes that's showing exactly what he was saying in the book. A couple of excerpts from the book. The genius of the Jews is to live off people, not off the land, nor off the production of commodities from raw materials, but off people. Let other people till the soil. The Jew, if he can, will live off the tiller. Let other people toil at trades and manufacture. The Jew will exploit the fruits of their work. That is his particular genius. If this genius be described as parasitic, the term would seem to be justified. Henry Ford. And so now, I mean, I'm not a avid reader of Henry Ford. Actually, I don't even like his cars. His trucks are cool, but he made a real statement right there. Let's see what another one he said. The Jewish nation is the only nation that possesses the secrets of all the rest. There is no government in the world completely at their service as America. The British did this. The Germans did that, when it was the international Jew who actually did it. So it's basically saying that the British, this is what the Jews probably say. The British did this and the Germans did that. But it's actually the Jew. And they're not even Jew. They're Khazarian converts. This guy, his name is Harold Rosenthal. Now, Harold Rosenthal did an interview in the 70s, around the time of the 13th Tribe, Arthur Kessler book. And I listened to the interview. You can look it up, Google it, look it up on YouTube or whatnot. And he really spilled the beans on how they really feel about everybody else in the world. But I'm gonna read this right here because I'm not sure if I remember him saying that. It says most Jews do not like to admit it, but our God is Lucifer, and we are His chosen people. Right? Synagogue of Satan. He said it himself. Came out his own mouth. And believe it or not, this guy ended up being killed as well. Harold Rosenthal. So look him up. Listen to the interview from front to back. He'll talk about how they took over or how they started all the education systems in America to teach us what they want us to know. Just like you never heard of a Khazarian. That wasn't in any of my history books. So they hid that. And they hide a lot of things. So listen to that interview. That's a good interview. And yeah, they actually killed him. I don't know how long it was after the interview, but it was supposedly a terrorist attack. Some guys got on the plane that he was getting on and shot up the plane, shot up some people on the plane, and he was one of them that got killed. All right, so understand that these are the synagogue of Satan. They do kill people and they do start wars. They finance wars. They finance both sides of wars. Listen to Benjamin Netanyahu, the president of Israel right now. In 1990, he was employed at the time as a Soviet agent in a covert conversation taped in 1990. This is what he said: America is a golden calf, and we will suck it dry, chop it up, and sell it off piece by piece until there is nothing left but the world's biggest welfare state that we will create and control. This is what we do to countries that we hate. We destroy them very slowly. And that's pretty much what Rosenthal was saying as well. And Rosenthal was before Netanyahu, right? This is in the 1990s. I think the Rosenthal interview was in the 70s. So you do the math. Again, ancient Israelites were black. This is from Assyrian captivity. This picture is showing an Assyrian soldier in the back on the left and two Hebrew Israelites. If you look at their beards and their hair, they have woolly hair. Those are not the so-called Jews of today. How'd they get the land? They got the land through a letter and a declaration. It's called the Balfour Declaration. You can look it up. I'm going to keep moving. All right, you can look it up. It's called the Balfour Declaration. End of World War One, and then World War II, they ended up getting it. It actually started right here. It says Jewish state for Jews. Great Britain offers territory to the Zionists. Zionist Congress opened here today under the presidency of Dr. Theodor Herzl of Vienna. In his opening address, referring to the collapse of the project to establish the Jews on the Sinai Peninsula, announced that Great Britain had offered the Zionists a large tract of territory in East Africa for colonization by the Jews, who would have an autonomous government under British certainty. The question of accepting the offer, he said, would be submitted to Congress. So that was in 1903. I guess it took 40 years for them to get, but they got it. And also, if you look right here, it says East Africa. So Israel is not the Middle East. It is Africa. It says it right there. This is a 1903 news clipping. That's why it says East Africa and not Middle East. You gotta peep that stuff out. They try to tell you that white people are from the Middle East now, or North Africa is whatever. Anyway, so getting back to the scriptures, God actually places the Israelites in their land. So after the curses, which was Deuteronomy 28, a couple chapters down, Deuteronomy 30 says, and it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessings and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all nations, whither the Lord thy God hath driven thee. And shalt return unto the Lord thy God, and shalt obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither the Lord thy God had scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. The outmost parts of heaven? So it sounds like he's saying whether if you are going to follow God, if you follow God with all your heart and mind and soul, and you are of the bloodline, then he's going to bring you back, whether you dead or alive, and put you in the land. That's the promise. That's the new kingdom, right? He's still going to judge you. Anyway, so this is proof that God said he was going to put the Israelites back into their land. And there are other scriptures in the Bible that actually say it as well. Okay, so this was the letter for the Balfour Declaration. This is just a piece of the letter. It was written to the Rothschilds. Some people know who they are, some people don't. The Rothschilds are the people who run all the central banks in the world. Most of the central banks in the world. I think it may be one or two that's run by their own country. But I'm sure they still have some Jewish influence because of the currency. All the currencies, starting with America's currency, are still under the Rothschilds because of the Federal Reserve. That's another video. Lord Rothschild, in regard to the establishment of a national home in Palestine for the Jewish people, I have much pleasure in conveying to you on behalf of His Majesty's government the following declaration of sympathy with Jewish Zionist aspirations, which has been submitted to and approved by the Cabinet. His Majesty's government view with the favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this object. So that's telling you right there that they're pretty much begging. They begged for 40 years. You looked at the other clip, the 1903 article. They begged for 40 years, and when you know it, came through. This is a letter to Lord Rothschild, and he had all the influence to get the government to do what they did. Give another people's country to somebody else. Ain't that something? So this is the Jacob Rothschild. I believe he just died maybe a year or two ago, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. I don't even want to look it up. I don't really care. But this is another meme I picked up. It says, hello there, my name is Jacob Rothschild. My family is worth $500 trillion. We own nearly every central bank in the world. We finance both sides of every war since Napoleon. We own your news, the media, your oil, and your government. You have probably never heard of me. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of him now, but if not, there he is. Anyway, this person has children, and they have children, and they're going to have children, and they're going to have children, but they own the central banks. This is why there's a credit system. So they own all of that. They pretty much get paid off of all of that. And all of this was based off the backs of the Israelites being cursed by God for not following His commandments. So as you listen to this video, if you need to rewind it, go back, watch a couple of slides, think about your situation, where you are, where your family was, where they came from, if you are of Negro descent, if you are of Hispanic descent even, because even some of the Hispanics who were enslaved as well were Israelites. The natives to this country, America, were very dark as well. They were raped and pillaged by the millions. Millions of people from the kingdom of Judah over there in Ghana, where the slave port is. Many of them were Israelites, as proven here. Look it up. Slave ships, the voyages. As I said, they are not Jesus knew that they were not. He knew that in the last days that these are the people that he's going to have to kill. That he's going to have judgment placed upon. God said he's going to destroy the nations that we were scattered to, because they took us and they did more than what he wanted them to do to us. Way more. Did you know that they would tie babies to a rope and throw them in the swamp, Florida, Louisiana, throw them in the swamp for a big bull gator to grab hold to? Babies during slavery, so that they could just get the skin off of the alligator, make some shoes or luggage or whatever. Those people, Edomites, God's enemies. We're going to keep moving with God's enemies. I'm going to keep showing y'all God's enemies. As God said earlier, as I read earlier, what God said, that he would give us to our enemies. A nation of fierce countenance. Rome was fierce countenance. Rome was Chittim and Edom blended as one. So the Edomites blended with Japheth all over the world to have nations fall under their sword. The end is drawing near. It is. All the signs are there. I just keep seeing different stuff every day. Learn something new every day. We still here. Y'all said we'll be like the sands of the sea. Innumerous. No matter how many of us you kill, we still here. And they still trying to kill us every which way. Dirty water, vaccines that give babies diseases, feeding us the wrong types of food, give us diabetes and high blood pressure. It ain't just by gunshots in the middle of the street like they do these young boys. It ain't just that. They kill you all kind of ways. They kill your mind. They destroyed us. We didn't know who we was. We stopped singing Kumbaya. Kumbaya. We'll still say hallelujah in church though, and don't even know what we saying. Don't even know that that's Israel. So I'm gonna end this video off. It's late. I'm tired. But I appreciate all the views. Please subscribe to my channel and take heed. You can look up anything I put on here. Believe me, it's out there. You can look at that monastery in Russia. It just seems like everywhere there weren't slaves, they knew that the Israelites were black. But everywhere there were slaves, they turned the Israelites to white people. And the Edomites. Ain't that something? Alright, y'all. I want to thank the Most High for giving me a voice and a platform. And I thank everyone who I've learned from just listening to people and talking to people as well about my own heritage. And if you feel it in your spirit to look up this information and keep moving forward with it, then do so. Believe me, you'll find a lot that you don't know. A lot that you thought you knew. You'll find that you just been stuck and sleep. For real. All right, y'all, in a minute.